This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Could an ordinance in the city of Sweetwater impact hunters all across the state of Tennessee? Find out next on the Sports Source Wild. Welcome into the Sports Source Wild. I'm Bob Hodge, along with Joe Justice, here on the Sports Source Digital Network. Right off the top of the show, Joe, we want people to like, subscribe,
exactly,
comment. I mean, if you like the way I look, comment. If you don't like the way Joe looks, comment. I mean,
how about what we're talking about? If you like what we're talking about, if you don't like, if we get something wrong, if we get something right, let us know. Let us know.
There you go. Let us know. So, getting into what we're going to talk about today, interesting court case going on in the city of Sweetwater, and it involved 6 duck hunters, 3 of which bought a piece of land down inside the city limits of Sweetwater, specifically to duck hunt. And on December 1st, they were hunting with some friends of theirs. They're shooting at ducks, just kind of what you want to be doing when you're duck hunting. And the Sweetwater City Police showed up.
Now hold on. Were they hunting too close to another house or too close to
the road? No, they were good. They were outside the 100-yard limit you need to be. They weren't shooting across the road. They were just shooting at ducks.
Yeah, and you got to be off the road 50 yards, 50 feet, I'm sorry, 50 feet.
So they were good. But the city of Sweetwater has an ordinance that says you can't fire a gun inside the city limits of Sweetwater. These guys, they're hunting property, which they specifically bought to hunt ducks, inside the city limits of Sweetwater.
But now they're not like shooting down on Town Square. They're over on the river that is in city limits.
I can't say they're on the river. They could be on a pond, could be on a creek, whatever it is. It's duck hunt property. Historically, it's been duck hunting property. And a question comes up out of this.
Right.
And we do this show in sponsorship with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. The Wildlife Federation is keeping a close tab on this. So why would a ordinance in Sweetwater make a big difference if you deer hunt in Memphis, if you turkey hunt in Jackson, if you squirrel hunt in Smith County?
But there's lots of implications. I mean, they start with this and they could move on to bow hunting. They could hunting in general within a certain zone. Let's just blow it out to the county now, let's say. We're getting a lot of people moving into the area that are coming from other states that are not as firearm friendly as Tennessee, not as hunting friendly as Tennessee, not as fishing friendly as Tennessee, and here they are. And we don't want people in the county to start.
Exactly, and you hit the nail on the head. If, and this hadn't gone to trial yet, there was a motion to dismiss last week.
Okay.
Didn't happen. So it is going to go to trial. What the hunters are facing is basically a parking ticket or a speeding ticket. It's not like they're facing any kind of big time jail time. The big implication of this is if the city of Sweetwater can tell you you can't shoot a gun at ducks or you can't shoot a gun at deer,
or doves.
Because
there's a ton of doves in Sweetwater.
Whatever it is that the legal hunting season is, if the city of Sweetwater says you can't shoot at it, they have de facto became game managers. And
interesting.
In the state of Tennessee, there's one group, and you can say they're political, you can say they're not that political. Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission is the only group that can say you can hunt here, you can't hunt there. And this has the potential, I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but it does have the potential to become problematic for hunters. Like I said, it's Sweetwater, Mountain City, Memphis, all points
Knoxville,
in between,
yeah.
Knoxville. If a city can say you can't discharge a firearm, then they're saying that you cannot hunt with a gun. And that makes that city, show me their biologists. Show me their game managers.
Well,
because that's what happens.
It goes against our right to hunt and fish, which is part of the Tennessee state constitution.
Well, and since we work in partnership with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, go ahead and say, yeah, they're the ones that pushed it into the Constitution. They worked on it for several years back in the 2007, 2008 range when Bill Haslam first became governor of Tennessee. It was the Tennessee Wildlife Federation that was the point people on getting us a constitutional right to hunt and fish. And so now you've got a town that says, well, you've got a constitutional right to hunt and fish, just not inside our city limits.
So the previous owners, the previous duck hunters, because you said this place is a duck hunting property, were they cited? Were they
Nope.
bothered? Were they told not to do it?
They were not. They were not. The guys that bought the property were told by the city that if you hunt there, you can be cited. Now, I don't know a lot of... Yeah.
He told him that.
They told them that. And
so there's got to be other cases that's out there that...
Well, as far as we know, as far as I know, as far as other people know, these are the only guys that were cited.
No, I'm talking about in general. I mean, this has probably come up before, right?
In Sweetwater?
No, just in general.
Just in general.
In general.
No, it has not. And when it has, and I shouldn't say it has not. In the past, the state of Tennessee, 3 times the state attorney general has come up against similar cases. Municipalities, towns, little burgs, whatever you want to call it, have tried to say you can't discharge firearms inside our limits. 3 times the state attorney general, going all the way back to the 1970s, has said, no, you can't do this because that would make you in the game management business. And so, the first time, a little bit of history right quick, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Commission didn't come about until the early 1970s, I believe 1974, working off memory. Before that, you had a bunch of patchwork game management plans across the state of Tennessee. The state realized that this didn't work very well, so that's when they brought it all under the commission. And so that's the reason that Sweetwater, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Maynardville, that's the reason that they can't make laws saying you can't hunt with a gun here. And that is not to make it seem as if, hunt anywhere you want with a gun, Right. Me and you both know it can be a dangerous practice.
Well, there's a lot of safety issues with anything. I mean, if you look at just not only the gun-related issues, I know there was a death in Missouri with a young duck hunter, which is tragic. But there was also 2 other waterfowl-related incidents where, like Uncle Si from Duck Dynasty. If you've ever watched Uncle Si, always carries his sweet tea. He actually fell getting out of the boat and bruised his ribs. I think he's still in the hospital. There was another young man in the boat. They were driving under a bridge, which I've seen some bridges like that where you fish. You have to lay down or duck your head so you can clear the bridge. He raised his head up too soon, so very unfortunate. Yeah. But there's a lot of risks, not just the gun-related risks. So I see some of the liability issues. When I get on a hunting lease, a lot of times I have to sign a hold harmless clause, contract, paper, whatever. Just if I break my leg, I'm not going to sue you, that kind of thing. But the issue here is the firearms involved. So 3 other times this has kind of happened, similar incidents, not Sweetwater, and it really hasn't brought about any implications. The courts kind of rule with the hunters. So why now? I mean, what's it matter now? I mean, don't you think they're going to follow suit?
That's the little grain. As they say, it takes a grain of sand to make an oyster. Well, in this case, this doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Okay, some guys get cited. But then, in this case, it would make a pearl. But if that spread and then somebody else said, you can't do this, you can't do this. And just to be clear, these guys were not violating any other laws. They weren't charged with reckless endangerment. It wasn't like they were shooting harem, scarum, and put people in danger. They were
over the rooftop.
They were safe. So this does seem to, with just on the surface, without delving into it, seem to be the case of a city has decided, nope, we can do this and we're going to do this. And once again, that's where the implications, that's what I find bothersome, is the implications of this. Because, okay, it's not safe to shoot inside the city. All right, but what happens when we don't want you shooting in our county?
Right.
You know, and you and I both hunt places that are close to city limits. There's a place I hunt in Union County. I can look down the ridge at the city of Maynardville, right down there. I don't know where the line is.
Yeah.
You know, but I can stand there, and right down there is the city of Maynardville. So I'm close to that line. I'm fairly certain. Same thing with places you hunt. So I think it is something that you've got to watch. And you've got to watch it close, because if you sit there and say, God, you're worried about nothing. It's a different state than it used to be.
I guess if you blow it on out there, I mean, this could even move on over into fishing. I mean, I've seen several things on social media, here on YouTube, fishermen getting harassed. Hey, you're in a private stretch of water, quote unquote. Some states have those kind of laws, some don't. But as long as you're on a navigable river, you should be able to fish. So what if I was floating down in my kayak duck hunting? You know, am I troubled in? Am I too close to private? Am I trespassing? You know, this could go a lot of ways, I guess, if it gets out there.
Well, and once again, this is a little bit of apples and oranges. Look, we both fish, and I'd say both of us have been out fishing. You're bass fishing around the dock. Put a little bit too much on that cast. Next thing you know, you've got treble hook stuck in somebody's dock. And
treble hook? What are you, snagging them? What are you doing with a treble hook on a dock? Hold on now.
You don't fish with treble hooks?
There might be another infraction in there, Bob. I don't know.
I mean, you don't use baits that have treble hooks?
I do. I'm just kidding.
Okay, I don't like
Most of the time I'm throwing a jig or a worm up under there.
Well, I usually
and most
throw
time
a worm
it's
too.
Pitch dark night and we're trying to be quiet.
Well, and that's where some other show we'll talk about the joys of fishing with a jerk bait around the dock. But anyway, 2 times in the past couple of years, I've done that. Dadgummit. Well, you don't want to break off a $10, $12 lure.
Right.
And people have came out screaming bloody murder about getting away from their docks. All I'm doing is just reaching up here and pulling this out. So things have changed in the state. And you and I have talked about it. People move down, and they're not quite used to a lot of this.
No, I mean, welcome to Knox County. Boom, it's a shot. I see it on the Next Door app. I see it on social media, different areas like that. People lose their minds sometimes. But they've come from an area where that's just not the norm. And now you're in Tennessee. We were dove hunting, Jefferson City, late dove season, and not Jeff City, Jeff County. And probably 300 yards from my house. Guy just moved here from, I'm not going to mention the state, newly Tennessean. I like to call him newly Tennessean. And we were shooting. He comes out, starts screaming and yelling in his bathrobe and his underwear. You can look way down there and kind of see. He's like, "Is that guy got pants on?" So we didn't do anything. We had permission. Dove season. He screamed and yelled, said he was going to call the sheriff. Did call the sheriff. Ended up calling the landowner. We had every right to be there. Neither one of them. They're just like, go ahead and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
We killed our limits and went on. But these people aren't used to that. And I think that changing mindset of moving to a gun-friendly state like Tennessee, some people just aren't ready for it.
And people like on the lakes, they're not used to people, hey, I own this boathouse, I own this boat dock. Why are people out there? What are they doing around there? I've got to keep an eye on.
Why are they fishing near it?
What is exactly going on? And we've had, in the past, I've had the sheriff's deputies call to my house. We'd be out shooting, clay targets, this, whatever. And people have called. Sheriff's deputies came by. They saw that everything was safe. We weren't doing anything dangerous at all. Hey, got a perfect right to be doing this, guys. Have a nice day. So could something like that change? That it would be that, okay, you're sitting here shooting some clay targets. Nope, can't be doing that anymore. Not in Knox County, let alone talking about you can't shoot the dove or you can't shoot the deer,
duck,
or you can't
or whatever,
shoot the turkeys.
So do you think we're at that point? Do you think that the Sweetwater government has city government has changed their mindset in such a manner that they may say, hey, we're going to take this all the way up. We're going to keep going. Do you think that's happened? Have we had that great of an influx of out-of-towners?
I think that's the reason that this deserves watching, that it needs to be paid attention to. Because is it just we've got this ordinance, these guys violated our ordinance, and there's no intention there of them saying, hey, look, you can no longer hunt inside our city limits. We've got this ordinance. Maybe we'll have to work with somebody and change it. Or maybe there are people, Sweetwater, other parts of the state, that say, you know what, we're gonna do away with these things. You know, we're gonna sit there and do some local ordinances because we need more power here. You know, why does all this come down on high from Nashville with this wildlife commission?
Right.
So
it's in their backyard, literally.
Yeah,
or within their limits.
And it's not pushing the panic button. I mean, you've got groups, and the Tennessee Wildlife Federation is probably at the forefront. They watch stuff like this.
Well, yeah, there are eyes and ears up there, and our voice. I mean, they speak for us. They make sure things are.
Exactly. And so when something like this happens across the state, you know, that's the reason the Wildlife Federation is a wonderful group. You call them up, say, hey, this is happening. They look into these kind of things. You know, so this isn't a sky is falling, oh my gosh, we're all going to lose our right to hunt. But it is something that probably hunters kind of want to turn an eye to and keep track of. And if you have questions about this, or if you've got a topic you'd like for Joe and I to talk about, or other people, because there are going to be guests coming on to this show, we'd like to hear from you at the sportsourcewild@gmail.com. Send us an email and we'll answer questions.
Yeah.
Send us your deer pictures. Send us your turkey pictures. And we never put them on the show, but we'd like to see them.
And don't forget to when you get done watching this video, like and subscribe. That way we can come back next week.
And that's what we want to do, because next week we're going to pick on some other little city in East Tennessee.
That's right.
So there you go. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. The Tennessee Wildlife Federation will keep an eye on that. And Joe and I will come back next week with another fantastic episode.
Enthralling.
There you go. I like that word. Couldn't spell it, but I like the way it sounds. Another enthralling episode of Sports Source Wild.